So the third round of the US Open has nearly been completed and is getting even weirder for some players. On the American side, Ben Shelton surprisingly had to retire against Mannarino due to an injury on his left shoulder. Not only was that surprising, but we also saw Francis Tiafoe getting knocked out in straight sets. But not all hope is lost for the Americans as Taylor Fritz managed to hang strong against Jay Kim, winning in 3 hours at the Louis Armstrong Stadium. We've also seen Novak Djokovic take down Cameron Norrie in just under 3 hours, and Carlos Alcaraz beat Darderi, who's actually a really strong opponent, in straight sets. But let's first split this video into 3 main topics: wins, unexpected losses, and predictions for future rounds. So Carlos Alcaraz managed to get to the round of 16 with a dominant win over Italy's Luciano Darderi, winning 6-2, 6-4, 6-0. But in the second set, he felt something wrong with his right knee, forced a brief medical timeout, and so he paused for treatment and then bounced back really sharp, not dropping a single game the rest of the way. But even with that knee scare, his numbers spoke volumes, and this was all while cruising through in just an hour and 45 minutes. However, it wasn't just a win, but it was a statement under physical stress, because beyond the numbers, this was more about resilience than anything else. Alcaraz reassured his fans after the match, saying the knee issue wasn't serious, and it was gone after a few points. He didn't even look worried. But it does also kind of show, despite everything we've seen from Alcaraz previously, he is still human and he can still suffer from injuries. And whether or not this might come up as an issue in future matches, we'll just have to wait and find out. So Taylor Fritz dug himself into a hole early, dropping the first set to qualify Jay Kim, but he's not one to fold. Despite going 0 for 8 on break points early, he hauled himself back into it by winning the second set 7-6. After sending off several mini collapse moments, he regained his footing and authority, but the second set slipped away in a heartbreaker as he lost a 9-11 in a tiebreak. And so he had to reset mentally for the long haul. But once Fritz found rhythm, he dominated from the baseline, serving up to 20 aces, winning 84% of his first serve points. And with that, he sealed the match by taking 5 of 7 break points in the final 2 sets. And so in the end, he won 7-6, 6-7, 6-4, 6-4. moving into the 4th round and keeping the Americans' hopes alive. So Novak Djokovic edged into the first round with a gritty 6-4, 6-7, 6-2, 6-3 win over Britain's Cameron Norrie, but Norrie gave him a real run, pushing him into a tiebreak in the second set and keeping it close really early. And so Djokovic had to dig in, calling a medical timeout for his back, yet still blasted 18 aces, and so even if he fought through discomfort and lingering rust, he still flipped the switch in sets 3 and 4, sealing the win in just under 3 hours. But this tied Federer with 69 Grand Slam 4th round appearances. So this one wasn't just more than advancing, but it was semi-finals is another question. So stick around till the end where you guys can see my predictions. Now let's talk about some of the unexpected losses that I was saying earlier on. So Ben Shelton hurtled into the 3rd round riding a career breakthrough year, fresh off winning Toronto Masters title and buzzing at number 6 seed with real momentum, but when disaster struck after snagging a tense 3rd set win, even tumbling to the court in celebration, he rocked his left shoulder, and so he called for the physio early in the 4th round after describing it as the worst pain he's ever felt. But still he tried to play on, though you could tell he was compromised, slicing forehands, rushing the net in desperation, even adding 13 serve and volley points in the 4th set compared to just 3 earlier. And so despite the grit, he dropped the 4th set 6-4 and tearfully conceded before the 5th, marking the first ever retirement of his pro career. But what makes it sting isn't just the loss, but it's where he was in form, pushing American men's Grand Slam hopes forward, knowing full well that Mannarino said that if a healthy Shelton played on, he likely would have won. So this wasn't just an upset, it was an abrupt stop to a surging story, a moment of heartbreak that underlines how unpredictable tennis can be. So Francis Tiafoe, seeded at 17th and a long fan favourite at New York, walked onto the court full of swagger, but ended up falling flat in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3, 7-6. But the person he played against wasn't just some random qualifier, it was Struff, and he came through the full qualifying bracket when it counted. So the final game slipped through Tiafoe's fingers and he couldn't claw it back, but the loss hits harder than the scoreboard. Tiafoe called it hard to swallow and admitted he played way too passively for anything to actually happen, and especially on these lightning fast courts, it hits him 10 times harder than what it actually felt like. This wasn't just an early round exit, eyes on Taylor Fritz's shoulders to get somewhere near the final. So since we've reached the deep rounds of the US Open and everything points to the showdown between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, they've dominated tennis this last few years, and the odds back Sinner is at the top pick and Alcaraz not far behind. But Carlos had a knee scare in the third round. He took a medical timeout and questions remain whether he's still fully healthy. But Sinner just a week ago had to retire from the Cincinnati Open, so it looks like they're both equally unstable. But these last few, on the women's side, Iga Swiatek, Aryna Sabalenka stand out. Swiatek had a recent Wimbledon title and a Cincinnati win. She's sturdy in her game, but Sabalenka is the defending US Open champion and thrives off these courts. She brings power and hunger, and so even if the odds are close, that final between them is likely. But both faces from their side, Coco Gauff, Madison Keys and Elena Rybakina, show real firepower, so if they hit prime form, we could see a surprise late run. But the bottom line is, the top seeds are Sinner, Alcaraz, Swiatek and Sabalenka. But any crack in form or injury, especially for Alcaraz, opens a window for Sinner to take home another US Open. So the next few matches could either reinforce the favourites or offer a stage for the bold. If you're a YouTuber like me, then thumbnails will be your most valued asset. So click on the link in the pinned comment down below to go to this website, which rates your thumbnail on a scale of 1 to 10 based on virality and tells you what to improve to make it even better than what it already is. It gives you straightforward tips and doesn't give you any false information. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It would mean so much if you liked, subscribed and joined my Discord community in the description down below.